This morning, we have a new episode of STEM City, and host Dr. Owais Durrani joins us live in Studio A to tell us all about it. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you doing?
So far, so good. Really excited to see what it is you have in store for us.
Yeah, so I've been trying to do a gaming episode ever since we started this series, and we finally did one. We found the perfect angle, pinball. So
oh, yes. Everybody loves pinball.
Exactly. Barrels of Fun is headquartered here in Houston, and their factory's here, and they released their first game last year based around the movie Labyrinth. And so we got to go to their factory, check out how they make this machine from scratch. We talked to one of their engineers who used to work in human spaceflight and now works in the pinball industry, their founder, and learned everything about it. So,
oh,
yeah.
Wow. How cool is that? Okay, let's take a look.
This month on STEM City, we dive into the world of pinball and gaming at Barrels of Fun. Yes, you heard that right. Careers like engineering power the games that we love, and today we're going to check out how Labyrinth the game is made. I'm also going to try to beat the high score. Let's see how that works out. David, thanks for letting us into your home, Barrels of Fun. You're the founder and CEO of the company. So tell me about where this company came from and why you decided to found it.
This company was kind of born out of COVID. So I've worked in the pinball industry for about 10 years.
Wow.
And did everything from the animation work, and then that led into licensing and project development. And when COVID happened, it was one of those things of a lot of people are losing their jobs and rethinking what they're going to do for their career. And at that point, I was traveling a lot, and obviously that stopped.
Yeah.
So I started thinking, well, what do I really want to do? And a very good friend of mine that now is also a partner in the company, Brian Savage, was like, why don't you do it yourself? And I was like, I think that's very expensive and very hard and not something I'm looking to do.
Yeah.
Over a period of time, it kept saying to me, what are you going to do? Because I kept getting called from licenses, from TV shows and movies saying, hey, we want to do a pinball machine. And I would pass it out to other people I knew in the industry. And he kept saying, why don't you do it?
Yeah.
Why don't you do it? So I finally sat down. I was like, well, I'm going to show you how this is not a good idea. And surprisingly, it works on paper. So it's like, you know what? Let's go ahead and do it. So that's basically how it all came together.
Yeah, you took a leap of faith, and I'm sure it helped that you had done a little bit of everything in the industry, so you brought it all together for this company.
Yeah.
Obviously, picking your first game, first machine is a big decision. How was it, Labyrinth? How did you come to that decision? Obviously, it's got a massive following, very popular, but for you, how did you come to that decision?
So, because I was dealing with licensing from all different studios, I've had lots of different connections. So it really what it came down to are what was presented to me and what opportunities there were. And it was like I was presented by Henson with other projects that they would like to see happen. And I just said, well, why not Labyrinth? And they're like, really? You want to do Labyrinth? And yeah, because that movie is about going through a maze. You got challenges, you got obstacles in your way to get to where you want. And I thought it would translate really well to pinball. And clearly it did.
Yeah, this is magical looking at it, and it is overwhelming in a way with so much going on, but it's also exciting because you get to explore all of that. Yeah. So you said COVID, so from then to this being released, how long ago?
So this was released Friday the 13th last year. So from prototype to development to the delivery cycle, we're looking at just under 18 months. Now, there was a lot of time when COVID was happening, I was playing with ideas and stuff like that, but I really don't feel like this went into production. When it goes from concept to development to production, I feel like it was basically just 19-20 months. Myself and my partner, we're collectors, we're pinball collectors ourselves. We collect other things as well, but we collect. And we saw an opportunity that there was a lot of things that weren't being delivered that as collectors, we wanted to see in a product.
And from everything I've seen online, the feedback has been amazing. People are excited about it. They love to play it. That must feel amazing, your first game and the feedbacks.
So we had an expectation of where we wanted this to be.
Yeah.
And obviously it had to meet those goals to be successful as a company. I can tell you right now, this has exceeded all those expectations.
Yes.
However, that brings in another level of difficulty because now we have to scale to meet the demand. And that's probably been the biggest struggle I've had and problems we've had to solve was expanding on what we had to do to make sure we got these out in time for people.
Yeah. So I haven't played this yet. Any beginner tips?
Beginner tips? Honestly, just listen to the audio calls, shoot the flashing lights, and just go with what it tells you to do. That's really at the end of the day, just watch for the lights, listen to the call outs and shoot what they say, and just practice because you got to get that ball under control on that flipper. That's really important.
I look forward to it. I also look forward to talking to some of your engineers and other staff members, getting the factory tour. And one thing I've heard is maybe people can get factory tours next month or later in October. Is that correct?
Yeah, so officially we're having a factory tour with the Houston Arcade Expo that's happening in October.
Okay.
It'll be open from Saturday you got to have a ticket at the Houston Expo to come to here.
Okay.
It's from 10 to 1. And we're going to open up the facility. We're going to walk people through the whole process of how the game comes in as in parts, goes into sub-assemblies, then goes onto the line, into packaging, and out the door. So that is purely that one day, but if people would like to have a tour, they're actually more than happy to reach out to us and we can schedule them in.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to my tour. Thanks for spending some time with us, and I'm going to go check some stuff out.
Please do.
Awesome. Thank you. Travis, you are the Director of Systems Engineering here at Barrels of Fun, and that excites me because it seems like you get to do all the cool stuff. But let's kind of go back to your background. You initially, in the first part of your career, worked at companies that worked with NASA and aircraft and whatnot, and then you made the shift to gaming. So tell me about how that shift came about and what led to it.
Yeah, so for the past 20 years, I've worked in pretty exclusively human spaceflight engineering. So I got hired as a systems engineer straight out of college. And the systems engineering it's an analysis field. So we do a lot of requirements review and verification and testing reviews. And my specialty was in system safety engineering. So that was really had nothing to do with pinball or the things that I do these days.
Yeah.
But I did get heavily involved in the pinball hobby. And when I learned through back channels that there was a company that was going to start making pinball machines in Houston, I got really intrigued in the idea and actually was invited to meet the CEO.
Okay.
You know, this was all still when the company and the machine were completely a mystery and it was not public knowledge that these things existed.
Yeah.
And I started just volunteering. So I spent all of my nights and weekends for almost 2 years trying to make this Labyrinth pinball machine become a reality. And eventually I had to make a decision, am I taking those 20 years and putting them aside and trying this new adventure, or sticking with what I know was safe. And I was at a point in my life where I was able to make the leap. And the guys I work with here are awesome. So it's, in the end, it was an obvious choice, but it did take some soul searching to make the change.
And that's really cool because obviously I imagine out of college you were passionate about that field, and then your passions changed and you could still use that engineering degree in your new job essentially. Tell me where you went to college, how long an engineering degree is, and a little bit more about that.
Sure, yeah. I went to Cy Creek High School right here in Houston.
Okay.
And then from there, I went to Texas A&M. That's only an hour and 15 minutes from home for me.
Yeah.
My friends were going there. And I knew I was going to be an engineer probably from the time I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
Just come from a family of engineers. So it was, kind of preordained. But also I was super into cars, and I thought, I'm definitely going to go do mechanical engineering and try and work for a car company. That was just, my passion at the time in high school and college. So I was accepted at Texas A&M in mechanical engineering, and I spent 4 years there. I was in the sports car club, and we do the Formula SAE, which is an intercollegiate race car competition. just super fun. Yeah, that was more like this, where it's, you know, hands-on and you go straight from design to production to racing within a year.
Yeah. So fast forward, and your role here, what are your responsibilities?
I sort of like fill in the gaps. So, you know, some of the initial needs that we had were to get our data organized. Also, I spent a lot of time in SolidWorks, which is a 3D computer-aided design program.
Okay.
Fusion 360 is another one that's, you know, very similar. And that's what I actually did all my work on Labyrinth in was Fusion 360. But as a company, we are fully invested in the SolidWorks architecture and environment at this point. So all the new stuff we do is in the SolidWorks application. And that takes a lot of time, but that's where you get you take your ideas, you put them into a design, and from there you can make 2D drawings to actually hand to a vendor and say, please, can you build us this? You know, and you work with the various vendors who make those items, whether it's wood or plastic or metal or, you know, wire forms, painted parts with art, you know, all of these have some sort of vendor associated. You know, as a pinball company, we're really a final assembly organization. We do some sub-assembly, but, you know, we're trying to put all the pieces together. And you've got experts, you know, basically across the country and the globe that help us bring all the parts we need in to make that all happen. So
the really unique thing is this is like a merging of technology and art, because, you know, I see all these beautiful structures here and ramps and whatnot. How do you work with like the creative team and them like saying, hey, we want to put this here, and you're like, oh, that's an engineering challenge? Tell me about like that back and forth and that conversation, because I think that's really cool, because you do have to think about that, because when someone walks in, they see the art first. And
yeah, you know, initially when you're starting to formulate a pinball machine, you have some sort of creative lead for the game. And so David, you know, obviously for Labyrinth, came to us and had his concept for the machine and even like sort of a rough rules outline, you know, somewhat in mind.
Yeah.
And then he pulls in experts in each of the disciplines you were talking to. So we have a game rules expert. We've got a couple of artists on this machine, you know, who actually, you know, hand draw the artwork. We have software engineers and displays and graphics artists as well. So, you know, all of these disciplines do have to come together, and there are some compromises that you end up having to make. But for the most part, it's highly collaborative. So as the artist is starting to lay out, say, where the shots look like they should go on the playfield, and the playfield design is also, you know, maturing with the target is actually a little bit wider than the artist had planned for.
Yeah,
you just have a, you know, back and forth conversation, and there's a lot of iteration that goes on, like any engineering project, you know.
Awesome. So can we get a tour of the factory where you actually put this together?
Of course, yeah.
Let's do it.
See the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from here you can see almost everything that we do in the factory, which is, you know, we have a sub-assembly room.
Okay.
So the parts where we bring in very small piece parts, those all need to get assembled before it makes it to the actual assembly line.
Okay.
That happens in this area.
Just to kind of get general numbers, how fast can you make one Labyrinth game?
It takes a couple of hours.
Okay.
So that assumes that they've got all the piece parts that they need.
Yeah.
Like from the time that the cabinet and the playfield get started in parallel until it reaches the quality control area, that's about 2 hours.
Okay.
There's kind of the two parallel paths. There's the cabinet path, and then there's the playfield path.
Okay.
So all the playfields start here. Some elements that get added to the top side, and some elements that get added to the bottom side.
Okay.
And that generally happens here. So there's some hammering that needs to be done, and the hammering happens on the flat, sturdy table.
Nice.
And the wood rails get applied using this contraption here.
Really cool.
That playfield will go into a rotisserie, which lets the workers work on the top or the bottom, depending on what they need.
Okay.
Really easily, they can flip it over.
Oh, nice. Oh, wow, that is so many wires.
This is the tip of the iceberg on the wires. Yeah, so by the time you get to the test rig phase, Matthew can look at all the coils and switches and test them end to end using our testing system.
Okay, so now once he's done, you said this gets moved into the cabinet itself?
Yeah, so the cabinets will go over to QC,
Okay.
and then the playfield will meet it over there.
There's an actual computer inside the cabinet, is that correct?
Yeah, like a normal PC is basically what we use for the computer. That loads the, holds the software. We can upload software just like you would, with a USB drive.
Yeah.
So it's, and that talks to a set of custom pinball electronics that actually, read the switches and control the current to and from the drivers and things like that.
So that's the computer you were talking about.
This is the actual PC.
Yeah.
And the overall system is just run by two power supplies. They have two different voltages, so all the high power stuff runs off of this bigger 48 volt power supply, and everything else runs off the little 12 volt power supply.
It looks like you'll have a legit sound system in there as well.
It's basically a car audio system.
Yeah.
And sort of a standard LCD display. The playfield also has an LCD display on it for Labyrinth, which is a pretty neat feature where you can get some atmosphere, and sometimes it tells you what to do as you're playing the pinball machine.
Yeah, this is wild, because like my preconceived notion about what a pinball machine was before this was like, a few lights and electronics and flippers, and then you come here and you've got like a computer and sound system and all these mechanical things going on, and you flip the board over and there's wires all over the place, and it's a technological marvel.
Yeah, it really is. And just the amount of software it takes to keep track of where the pinballs are, what possibly could be going wrong with that situation, and keeping the software, knowing what to do next, and giving the player feedback in all of those cases is really complex.
Really cool.
So quality control is a really tough part of the overall game, because you can imagine the number of problems that could have occurred. All of the sub-assembly, the playfield assembly, and the cabinet assembly, and the quality control has to be able to identify any of those problems.
Yeah.
So they have a huge checklist that they go through and inspect every area where we've ever had a concern or a problem, to make sure that whatever that issue is has not recurred in this particular machine before it ships out. And then they also do, like as you say, they play test it and make sure that there's not something that they haven't seen before that also could come up in the user experience.
My uncle had an Evel Knievel pinball machine in his basement when I was a kid.
Okay.
So that's the first one I ever touched, and I have his machine still.
Yeah.
Like the one that I played when I was a kid. So it's cool to see that one next to what we're making now. They're so vastly different.
Totally different.
It's very cool.
So Jess, you are the head of quality control. Tell me what that means.
So David would say I tell everyone what they do wrong. That's not exactly it. So I have like a meticulous eye to detail, which is sometimes irritating for other people, but it helps to ensure that nothing goes through that someone could have missed. Like if there's a screw that's slightly longer than another screw, I will notice that it's there.
Okay.
And then I can trace it back to where was this mech made? Was it made by us? Was it made by a vendor? And then find out, did this happen more than once? Is this a one-off instance? That kind of thing. So I like to find the root cause of whatever's making it here. And this station is also, I'm sure as Travis told you, where the actual playfield and the cabinet meet for the very first time.
Okay.
So all of the boards and electronics that are in the cabinet are just meeting this playfield.
I see.
So in order to know if they're going to work harmoniously, we have to be able to turn them on together here. So I go through and I inspect the cabinets, I inspect the playfields for all those small pieces. And then once they're all together, turn them on, make sure the code is up to date, make sure the boards are responding the way that they should. I go through each light individually and make sure that they're wired in the right place. Because if it's telling you to shoot a jackpot shot and the arrow's on the wrong ramp, you don't know what you're doing. So those tiny, tiny things that make a huge difference, that's what I do here. And if I don't say it goes out the door, it doesn't.
You're the final stamp of approval. What? How many items are on the checklist?
I can give you a quick glance.
Oh, that's a lot of items.
So I try and always keep it the same length. Victor's been an amazing addition to the team. So prior to Victor joining, it was just me doing every single game that came out of here. So I like to be able to have enough information for him without it being totally cumbersome, because we still need to keep a nice pace and we shouldn't have too many things coming up, but it's just, these are nice things to be able to, you haven't done this 400 times, so let's just make sure that you get an eye on this as well.
What, and do you get to play the game as well as like a final check through?
Yes, not the way that you would imagine playing pinball to be. So it's not like a fun game.
Yeah.
So I play for flipper responsiveness.
Okay.
Making sure that they're strong enough to make all of the shots that you should be able to, making sure the angles are right. If there's maybe a post rubber that's a little bit out of position, I can tell when I shoot the shot, okay, this doesn't feel quite right.
I see.
A lot of that is not necessarily like a formula that I can write out. It's a feel, which I'm very tactile. So I will actually feel the playfield for imperfections, and I feel like cabinets for any decal imperfections. And then it's a whole thing with like the flow of the game, just feeling the way that the game is responding. And if it's not right, I can usually tell something's a little bit off, and then I can track it down from there.
How do you get your job?
So I actually worked as a pinball technician for years. So I would maintain pinball machines at arcade locations. I would do house calls for folks. I did restoration work, so I had a workshop. And I met David, and I have some very good Australian friends, so we hit it off straight away. And this machine, personally, my mom got me into David Bowie when I was a kid and into Jim Henson and Labyrinth, so I loved it straight away. But just the way that Barrels operates differently than other pinball companies. Other companies sometimes tease a game like a while out, and then it takes a while to actually see it and play it. I'm a very tactile person, so if I see a picture of a game or a video, I don't know how I feel about it. If I can touch it and play it, then I know. So when they announced this game was ready to buy. It was shipping. You could play it like straight away. So there was no waiting period. There was no like I got excited and then I had to wait for a few weeks before I ever saw one in the wild. So this is a very different way to approach it, and I really love the way that they did it. So I connected with it in a lot of ways. I had a few friends who worked on the project, so it just was a natural thing. And met David, and like 2 weeks later, I had moved to Houston and working my dream job. I have no idea. I'm still in a little bit of a whirl from everything, but it's the best thing ever.
That's awesome. Well, I have one final question for you. We're about to play it for the first time. Any tips?
White arrows spell Labyrinth, and that will light your mode start. And the little green stand-up targets light your locks for multi-ball.
Awesome. I'll keep that in mind. Thanks so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Nice meeting you.
Likewise. So I've finally been waiting for this. It's finally time. I get to play Labyrinth, so let's see how I do.
Wow, how cool is that? She has the coolest job.
Yeah, you get to play games and test the devices, and that's your job every day.
I was trying to look very closely. It still has the money slot, right? The coin slot on the front end?
It does, yeah. Some places will enable that, but I think most places use like the little credit card readers that are connected. But I was just shocked at how there's like a straight-on PC in it, and they said the sound system was like something similar to like a car sound system, and how high-tech these are. Because I was thinking it was going to be like a few springs and buttons and whatnot, but it was really cool.
And perhaps the original ones were just that. It's just now they're keeping up with the times and everything's...
It makes sense why they have a human spaceflight engineer working there.
Right, makes perfect sense. That was really cool. What a neat assignment. What's coming up next?
Airplanes. We're teaming up with an airline to highlight some mechanics and engineers that work on aircraft. So
and that's coming up next month.
That's next month.